So, I read a really interesting fairy tale yesterday, a Korean fairy tale. And the message, actually, what the title of this video would be is it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. And if you listen to this story, I think you'll get what I'm saying. So, there's this old man in a little village in Korea. He is a very poor man, but he's about to die. He has three sons, and he wants to leave a legacy. Um, and so this is what he gives the sons. The oldest son he gives a stone millet, something that you grind seeds or herbs, things like that, with a small, stone handle that you can grind the herbs with. And the middle son he gives a dried gourd. It's like a pumpkin, um, a dried pumpkin shell, and a bamboo stick. The youngest son he gives a flute, and he tells him, "Sons, I am sorry that I cannot give you more or leave you more to take care of yourselves. But what I'm giving you is valuable. It's what you do with these things that counts in life." And then, the next day he passed away. And the sons decided to go out into the world with these gifts that his father left them. And they start walking away from the village and they come to a fork. It happened to have three roads, and the brothers embraced and said, "Let's see what we can do with what our father left us." And so each son took a different road, and the oldest son, he walked for miles and miles, and it became very dark, and he didn't know what to do because he was really tired and he wanted to go on, but he just could not physically go on. And he found a tree in a sort of a near a forest, and he decided to stay there for the night. But he heard some strange noises and he thought it might be dangerous, so he climbed up the tree with his millet and used the millet as a pillow. And because he found a large trunk, and he fell into a very uncomfortable sleep, but he was able to sort of sleep. And then he heard a loud commotion, and he heard a few men talking. They were arguing underneath the tree. It's like, "Hey, how come you have more than I do? You have more gold or you have more money than I do?" You know, they were thieves. They had stolen somebody, from a very rich person, and they were sharing the loot. But they were arguing. And then the son decided, "Hey, here's my opportunity." He decided to do something with the millet, and he started grinding, the stone stick inside the millet, and it created a scary noise, like thunder noises. And one of the thieves said, "Oh my God, that was God trying to punish us. He's going to strike us dead." And they all got afraid. They dropped everything and they ran off into different directions. And the son, he didn't want to come down right away. He waited until morning. He came down. He found loads of money and gold and jewels. And guess what? He became rich because even though this thing seemed, invaluable, but he used it to gain this wealth. And the middle son um, also walked for miles. He was very tired. He came upon a little city, and he didn't have any money, so he couldn't pay to stay at a place. So he ended up at this sort of a garden. He thought it was a garden, but it was actually a graveyard. And but it was he was when he found out that it was a graveyard, it was just too late, and he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna sleep here for the night." It was really dark, and then all of a sudden, a goblin showed up in the dark and said, "Hey, skeleton, are you ready? Are you ready to get the rich daughter. And the middle son, kind of freaked out. He's like, but he had to think quickly. He's like, yes, 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 I am. And the goblin says, you sound a little different tonight. Well, you want to waste time talking about how I sound? And the goblin said, let me, let me feel your head. And the middle son was like, okay, I have to think really quickly. And he sticks out the gourd, you know, in front of the ghost or the goblin. The goblin feels the smooth gourd. Says, "Oh, okay, okay, you're a little smooth, aren't you?" And he says, "Well, let me feel your arm. Stick your arm out." And the middle son sticks out the bamboo stick. Says, "You're a little bony." "Well, I am a skeleton," said the middle son. It's like, "Okay, so let's go down to the city and get the rich daughter." And so they go down to the town, and then the goblin says, "You wait here, and I'm going to go inside and get the rich daughter's spirit." And so he goes in, he comes out, and he's got it in his hands, and his hands are moving, and he quickly sticks the spirit into the middle son's pocket. It's still dark, so he can't really see him. And so they're starting to walk away, but the dawn breaks, and starts to light up a little bit, and the goblin gets really scared and just goes, "Okay, I'll see you tonight." And then he takes off, and the middle son's like, you know, notices that something in his pocket is moving, but he doesn't know what to do. So he goes back to the graveyard and just waits till morning. And he decides to go into town to find something to eat. So he goes into town, and there's a loud, wailing and crying in front of this house. And he goes up to somebody and says, "What happened?" And the one of the villagers says, "The rich man's daughter died last night, and no one knows why." And the middle son said, okay. So he thinks really quickly, and he goes, "Who's the owner of this house?" And it's this rich man. He goes up to him and says, "I'm a shaman. I can help you bring your daughter back to life, but you must promise not to come into the house and let no one in." And he quickly agrees, and the middle son goes into the house, closes all the doors, the curtains, and he starts making loud noises in the kitchen, hitting pots and pans. And then he goes to where the daughter is, and he listens very quietly to around her face, and she's not moving. He takes out the spirit from his pocket and puts it underneath her nose, and all of a sudden she comes back to life. And upon awaking, she screams, seeing this strange man. And then everybody comes in and says that the father is just overwhelmed and awestruck. And he says, he's overjoyed. He says, "How can I ever repay you? Do you like my daughter? Do you find her beautiful? Then you can have her as a wife." And then they get married, and the father gives the middle son half of his fortune. The youngest son is walking down the forest, and he's also very tired, but for some reason he's in a very good mood because he's been playing this flute. And then across this forest, he sees a tiger, a dancing tiger. And he goes towards the tiger, and they're both dancing, and the youngest son is playing his flute, and they dance together down to a village. And then the people just are so overwhelmed with how amazing this looks that they're not scared. They start throwing money at them. They go from village to village, and they're so happy that and dancing that they become rich. And a rich king hears about it, and he decides that he wants to have this tiger. And the youngest son says, "This is a family treasure. I cannot sell it to you." And after much bargaining, the youngest son sells this tiger to the rich king, and he becomes very rich. And at the appointed time, I think it was 5 years, all the sons meet,